I hoped that one day I would be accepted by them and stand by their side. I hoped and hoped again. Duke Logan Silkisia, the head of House Silkisia, said, "Well, Psyche, I'm sure you know what you did was wrong. I won't waste my breath. Considering the relationship we've had, I'm going easy on you. So be grateful." Lillian, the real daughter of Duke Silkisia, was shocked. "Poison. Father, this is too much. Please have mercy on her." "Please," Izar Silkisia, the oldest son of Duke Logan, replied. "What are you talking about? You could have died." Lennox Silkisia, the youngest son of Duke Logan, added, "He's right. She deserves to die." For 10 years, as a substitute, a fake daughter, I lived in their shadows. Although I was only a stand-in for their missing daughter and branded as the fake, I was grateful they took me in. I tried my best to help the family every single day, thinking that was the way to earn their acceptance. Psyche Silkisia, the stepdaughter of Duke Logan, pleaded, "I didn't do it. I swear to God that I had no idea. Please ask the maids." You don't know when to stop," Lennox shouted. "The investigation is already over, you idiot. Do you think we're just dumping this?" "Stop," Izar Silkisia explained calmly. "As you said, this matter is already settled. There's no need to waste your energy. This was found in your room. Your personal maid testified. As soon as someone puts this on, a poisonous needle comes out of it." "But you were going to give this to Lillian, right?" Psyche, shocked, stammered. "What is that? I've never seen it before. On top of that, Melissa is not my personal maid. She is Lillian's," Lillian gasped, her voice trembling. "That? Oh my gosh! I thought we could be good sisters," Psyche's thoughts raced. "Oh, there was never a place for me here. Why am I just realizing this now? I regret every moment I let all of you push me around. If I get another chance at life, I'm not going to live that way. Huh. Where am I?" She turned to see Melissa, her voice distant yet familiar. "Melissa, what are you doing right now?" Melissa replied casually. "Can't you tell? I'm cleaning. Wasn't this place sealed off by magicians a long time ago? Am I dreaming? Or hallucinating?" Psyche wondered. Melissa frowned. "You're so messy. Do you ever clean your room?" Psyche's thoughts snapped back to Izar's earlier words. "Your personal maid testified." How annoying. "So this is real and not a dream?" Melissa suddenly shrieked. "Have you lost your mind? What in the world are you doing?" Psyche, startled, responded quickly. "I was trying to help you clean. I'm sorry. I saw a bug and panicked." Melissa stared at her in disbelief. "Wait, so this really isn't a dream?" In House Silkisia, there were 3 successors. The eldest son, Izar, was a genius in swordsmanship and served as the vice-captain of the Imperial Guard, Akasha. The second son, Lennox, showed promise for his age but had yet to reach his older brother's level due to his youth. And then there was Psyche, the eldest daughter, a useless daughter whose only value lay in her resemblance to the long-lost Lillian Silkisia. Psyche was the incompetent substitute who filled the void left by Lillian's disappearance. Psyche murmured to herself, "I was afraid of being abandoned, so I did everything to help the family. But when my abilities surpassed those of Izar and Lennox, the real members of House Silkisia, I had to hide that fact. You must remember that you can't outshine my sons. And so, I became their stepping stone. To be helpful, I volunteered to be my older brother's swordsmanship training partner, arranged documents, and collected data for my younger brother, who lacked the knowledge to do such things himself. I thought they would finally acknowledge my efforts, but what they gave back in return was death." Her thoughts darkened. "How foolish of me. Well, it doesn't matter. There was a legend passed down since the founding of the Empire. A person who wasn't able to fulfill their destiny receives a blessing from Fiancé, the god of destiny, and gets another chance at life. Is that what happened to me? Why would God bless a fake like me? I wonder why I was brought back to today of all days." Melissa's sudden voice snapped Psyche out of her reverie. "My lady! Have you heard? Lady Lillian has returned!" The announcement sent shockwaves through the house. "Lillian! What? My dear sister. Oh, I can't even imagine how much you've been through. Is she the real Lady Lillian?" She was gone for so long. Oh, the heavens must have heard our prayers and brought you back to us. Psyche remained silent, her mind swirling with disbelief and bitterness. So, this is how it all begins again. No. Annam, this is Vicente's blessing, the temple representative declared firmly. The Duke left the hair and blood of his missing daughter at the temple just in case. If someone presumed to be her were to appear. Using that, we performed a test, and she was a perfect match. We are positive that she is the real Lillian Silkisia. We give our word as the temple. Melissa rushed forward, her eyes alight with emotion. My lady! Do you remember me? It's me, Melissa. Lillian nodded slightly, glancing around. Melissa, where's Lady Psyche? Melissa hesitated, pointing across the room. She's over there. What are you going to do to her? Psyche stepped forward, her expression calm yet distant. I'm glad you're here, Lillian. Welcome back. Though it may be uncomfortable, please give me a few days to move out of your room. I think it'll be best for you to use that time to think about how you'd like to decorate it. House Silkisia narrowed his eyes. What are you up to this time? Psyche's voice was steady. What do you mean? If you think acting this way is going to make us feel sorry for you, I don't care what you think. Psyche interrupted, cutting him off. Turning to Lillian, she continued. If Father or Izar were here, they would have assigned you a personal maid. Until they return. Melissa, you wait on Lillian for the time being. Lennox's voice rang out, sharp and demanding. Hey, what? Where do you think you're going? Stop right there. Psyche ignored him, her inner thoughts heavy. Nothing has changed at all. Izar entered, his expression unreadable. So, what Lennox told me was true. I guess you have matured. Psyche gave him a faint smile, her voice tinged with bitterness. If he were my real older brother, he would have asked if I was heartbroken, instead of saying something mean. I'm just returning the room to its original owner. Izar's tone softened, but only slightly. You can use one of the rooms on the second floor. I'll let Father know. Psyche nodded. Yes, I'll do that. All right then. I'll be going now. As she walked away, she muttered to herself, they're giving me one of the guest rooms on the second floor. Honestly, I don't care where I stay. I must leave this house as soon as possible. Psyche's head throbbed painfully, and she sighed, her thoughts clouded with frustration. I have another headache. Well, at least I sent Melissa to Lillian. Melissa, always dutiful, appeared with a cup in hand. This is from Lord Izar. Be grateful and drink it. Psyche grimaced as she took the cup. Izar always sent me a cup of tea every morning through Melissa. He said it would help with my headache, so I drank it despite its horrible taste, but it only made my headache worse. Meanwhile, Lillian was engaged in conversation, oblivious to Psyche's discomfort. Yes, I've heard about them. I heard that nomads in the West light a bonfire every night and fall asleep reciting poetry. Is that true? Psyche blinked, reflecting on her own memories. It's different for each tribe, but it was like that where I was. If it wasn't for Duke Nix, I would have lived as a maid in the guild the whole time. She thought to herself, I wonder why I never noticed it in my previous life. Lillian is deliberately trying to appear happy. Psyche stood up, feeling the weight of her insecurities closing in. Oh, I'd better hurry. Since I don't have a maid to help me get ready, I guess this is the best I can do. I always felt so insecure about being the Duke's fake daughter, so I would dress too flashy. To be honest, this suits my taste better anyway. Alright, let's go, and see him. In a grand chamber, Berndale Lester, the head of House Lester, greeted her with a cold but respectful tone. Lord Izar, if you do this, you're going to make things difficult for me as well. I cannot go against His Majesty's will. Akasha knows how dangerous the monsters in the north are. However, for us to gain His Majesty's approval, you or the commander can persuade him. We don't have the authority to do that. Psyche took it all in, her thoughts drifting. It's been a long time, Lady Psyche. What brings you here? Berndale Lester, the master of the unquenchable purple flame, was a formidable presence. Psyche recalled his purple flames. Come to think of it, I remember seeing purple flames at the moment of my death. Or was I imagining things? She quickly dismissed the thought. He's my biggest obstacle in my plans to leave this house, because he's my fiancé. Berndia's voice broke through her contemplation. You must be having a hard time due to the monsters in the north. That is something you shouldn't have to worry about, my lady. I can help you solve that problem. He spoke of the monstrous threat with quiet resolve. About a year ago, high-level monsters that were only seen in dungeons began to appear in the Leicester Duchy. The Duke mobilized his private soldiers to deal with them, but soldiers were being killed faster than the monsters. After his soldiers died, he recruited citizens, but when this horrible cycle continued, he asked the Emperor to dispatch the Imperial Guard. Psyche listened carefully as Berndia continued. The Emperor sought to bind Duke Leicester, who was part of the Crown Prince's faction, by arranging an engagement to House Silkisia, a key member in his faction. Even though it was a forced engagement, I discovered his surprisingly kind side and fell in love with him. However, he was being kind out of formality, and never went beyond that line. Psyche's thoughts darkened. After I noticed he was keeping his distance from me, I was afraid he might break off our engagement, and I would be kicked out of the house, so I tried to get his attention using various methods, but it only pushed him further away from me. Berndia Leicester's expression was cool, his tone unwavering. If you are here to ask me to accompany you somewhere, just stop right there. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit tired, so I'll be going first. He narrowed his eyes slightly. I don't know how you know that, but you must have made a deal with a fairly competent information source. Psyche, unperturbed, took a deep breath. I can tell you the weaknesses of those monsters. You can use that to get rid of them without receiving much damage. In return, she hesitated but kept her resolve. I'd like you to promise me one thing. Berndia regarded her warily. And what is that? Are you asking me to maintain our engagement in exchange for this information? No. Her response was firm. I want to call off our engagement. Berndia's composed facade faltered slightly. Do you mean that? Yes, Psyche replied, reaching for the ring on her finger. To be more precise, I'd like to take this off. Berndia frowned, his gaze fixed on the heirloom ring. That's... You know I can't take it off without consequence. These rings are artifacts of House Leicester. They share the wearer's location and emotions. Unfortunately, they require divine permission to deactivate. Psyche's voice softened, though her determination didn't waver. Emotion sharing doesn't happen unless the emotion is very intense, but the location tracking is a problem. It could be used against me. Berndia crossed his arms. And yet you're not taking it off now. She nodded. I know. If I take it off now, His Majesty would not be happy with you. But once the monsters are gone, you won't need to tread carefully around the Emperor anymore. He studied her carefully. What do you gain by doing this? Both parties need to benefit from a deal. Your proposal doesn't make much sense to me. Psyche locked eyes with him. Taking this ring off is a benefit to me. Berndia's brow furrowed. I don't quite understand. It doesn't matter if you can't understand. If it makes you nervous, I'm willing to sign a contract. Post-negotiation reflections. After Psyche left, Berndia mulled over the conversation with his trusted aide, Icide. It seems like the conversation didn't go well, Icide remarked. Berndia's voice was low. What would Lady Psyche gain by breaking off her engagement with me? He paused, his mind racing. She has nothing to gain. House Silkisia supports the Emperor, so they wouldn't benefit from it either. And for Lady Psyche, being engaged to me offers more advantages than not. Icide nodded. Exactly, Your Grace. It would have made more sense for her to ask to maintain the engagement, even after the monsters are gone. Berndia leaned back, recalling the moment Psyche looked relieved when he agreed to draft the breakup contract. She looked so relieved. He clenched his fist. No. This matter involves the duchy. I have to tread carefully. Icide, he finally said, his voice firm. Yes, Your Grace. Have the crow follow Lady Psyche. The monsters in the north are susceptible to the cold, Psyche thought, recalling details she had studied. But generally, fire, the opposite attribute, is used to attack them. Strange, though. She frowned, piecing together the anomaly. Some monsters grow stronger with warmth. Could it be that someone transferred them from the south? Her thoughts turned toward their resilience. If the only thing that can pierce their skin is a magic sword, She strained to recall a specific resource. What was the name of that stone with similar properties? Her thoughts were abruptly interrupted by a splash of cold water. Encounter with servants. A startled cry broke the silence. "Oh my gosh, Lady Psyche!" Marie, a maid, gasped as the water she had carelessly thrown hit Psyche squarely. "Oh no! I'm sorry! I had no idea you were there," another servant scoffed. "Marie, you should have looked before you tossed the water. But really, what's she doing here? Nobles don't pass through such shabby areas. Am I going to get in trouble for this?" Marie whispered, nervous. "Trouble? Don't worry." The scoffing servant smirked. "She's a fake who'll be kicked out soon anyway. If I were her, I'd be too embarrassed to show my face." "She's quite shameless." Psyche's lips quirked up in a faint smile. "That's true," she muttered under her breath, though her heart clenched. She straightened, forcing composure as she walked away. Her thoughts spun. This is a curse. No one must know about it. I can't let anyone find out. Suppressing the curse. The bullying from the servants continued for days, but Psyche managed to keep her ability in check. "My hair didn't freeze again," she noted with relief. "It's because I've been focusing all my energy on suppressing it." Even as they splashed her with water and hurled insults, she found herself surprisingly elated. "It's the Moonstone," she realized with a sudden clarity. "That's the name I was struggling to remember." Psyche's mind raced as she connected the dots. Moonstone is an ore with no commercial value, created when a low-quality magic stone absorbs the light of the full moon. Coating weapons with moonstone powder could pierce the monster's skin. She tapped her fingers thoughtfully. And House Lester owns numerous magic stone mines. Her focus shifted to the greater threat, but Assam, the monster that heals itself, is still a problem. It must have a weakness. Lillian's request. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. "Yes, who is it?" Psyche called out. Lillian stepped in, her expression hesitant. "I have a favor to ask." "May I come in?" Psyche tilted her head. "A favor?" Lillian hesitated, fidgeting. "I'm getting coached by great teachers, but they said it would be helpful to learn from the person actually handling the duties. Pretty soon, I'll have to take over, and I don't want to make mistakes." House Silkisia entered the room behind Lillian, his presence commanding. "You've been acting on her behalf until now, haven't you? Tell her what she needs to know." Psyche's heart sank. What is there to tell? She thought bitterly. This family has mistreated me so much. I haven't done anything of value in their eyes. And I'd been little more than a laughingstock in high society. I stayed home, reading and practicing swordsmanship. Izar scoffed, his voice dripping with disdain. "Ha, of course. This is a waste of time. She doesn't know how to do anything." He turned on his heel. "Let's go, Lillian." Psyche's internal monologue. "Although I haven't done much as the daughter of this house," Psyche mused bitterly, "you've been able to maintain the illusion of being a competent lord thanks to me. But you're too blind to realize that." Her gaze shifted back to Lillian, forcing calmness into her expression. "I hope they leave soon." "Wait. I still have something I want to ask her." "Lady Psyche." Lillian interrupted Psyche's thoughts, her tone hesitant. "What kind of person is Duke Lester? People are saying I'll be engaged to him soon." Lillian's voice dropped to a murmur. "According to the rumors, he's intimidating but extraordinary. Is that true?" "Yes," Psyche replied curtly, unsure of Lillian's motive. Lillian hesitated before adding, "In my previous life, I heard Duke Lester rejected you." She gave a faint smile, almost sheepish. "Nobles get engaged without even meeting sometimes, don't they?" "Yes," Psyche said simply, her tone neutral. Lillian perked up. "Then I guess it can happen to me too, huh?" "Yes." Izar's interruption. Izar Silkisia, his voice sharp, cut through the exchange. "Hey! Put some more thought into your answers." His glare landed on Psyche. "My sister is asking you questions." Psyche's jaw tightened. He must know his presence makes me uneasy, yet he insists on lording over every moment. How irritating. Unperturbed by the tension, Lillian added, "Hey, could you call me when you see Duke Lester next? I just want to meet him since I'll be his future fiancé." Psyche hesitated, her expression carefully blank. That's The next time I see him will likely be to draft the contract breaking our engagement. Can I get back to you after I ask him first? I want to consider his feelings. Oh, you're right. Lillian conceded, nodding. Psyche's silent struggle. If you're done here, Psyche thought desperately, leave. I feel like my body is turning to ice. Her head throbbed, and the cold pain in her chest intensified. I can't stand this pain, Izar scoffed dismissively. Don't mind her. She's just looking for attention. Attention? Lillian echoed, looking uneasy, the servant's indifference. In the hallway, a maid gasped. Oh no! I forgot to bring her tea. Don't bother. Another servant replied. She gets like that all the time. She'll stop when she gets tired. Let's just leave. The invitation and Psyche's decision. Psyche stared at the teacup placed before her, alongside an ornate envelope. Tea and an invitation? Her headache pounded harder, but she ignored it, focusing on the document. It's an invitation to the second prince's coming-of-age banquet. In my previous life, I received a dress for this banquet but couldn't attend. The day before, someone tore the dress to shreds. Her mind reeled with memories. Izar wouldn't have ignored the Emperor's summons. And Lennox, he'd have challenged me openly instead of stooping to such petty schemes. Her lips curved into a wry smile. It was probably the work of a foolish servant trying to earn favor. This time, however, Psyche steeled her resolve. I'm not attending. It's a waste of time, and I have far more pressing matters to attend to. Izar's question. As Psyche prepared to retreat to her quarters, Izar's voice cut through the quiet. Where are you going, Psyche? He demanded. She paused, gripping the moonstone pendant hidden beneath her gown. To prepare, she thought, though she answered with cool detachment. Somewhere I won't waste my time. With that, she walked away, leaving Izar stunned and silent behind her. Psyche's internal monologue. Izar never cared about what I did, as long as it didn't tarnish the house's prestige. Psyche's thoughts darkened. So why is he suddenly interested now? Psyche and Izar's exchange. Izar's voice was unusually stern as he questioned her. Where are you going, Psyche? Psyche's response was calm but guarded. There's somewhere I need to go. We're getting outfits made for His Highness's banquet. Didn't the butler deliver the message to you? Izar frowned, his suspicion clear. No, I never got the message. Of course, Psyche mused bitterly. The butler probably muttered something half-heartedly outside my door, never even checking if I was inside. Izar's eyes narrowed. It looks like you're ready anyway, so let's just head out together. Lillian specifically asked for you to come. You should thank her. His voice turned falsely kind. You seemed unwell yesterday, so I thought it would be good for you to get some fresh air. Psyche clenched her fists. He wants me to play along with their charade, to make it look like this family embraces even their fake daughter. He's openly treating me like a tool. Her reply was measured but firm. Thank you for thinking of me, but I don't need a new dress. And I have urgent matters to attend to, so I can't accompany you. Izar's expression hardened, his disapproval palpable. His voice rose, commanding. Come to Madame Belle's boutique as soon as you're done. Psyche's gaze didn't waver. No, I won't go. No matter what happens or the cost, I won't do as you said. Encounter with Hilvia Aslant. Psyche walked briskly through the bustling market, her mind heavy with her own plans. But as she turned a corner, a familiar voice stopped her in her tracks. Oh my, look who we have here! Hilvia Aslant sneered, her fan snapping shut with a theatrical flourish. Is that you, Lady Psyche? Psyche recognized the daughter of Marquis Aslant instantly. Hilvia always considered me a thorn in her side, and she's no less venomous today. Hilvia's minions tittered behind her, their smiles sharp as blades. I saw other members of House Silkisia at Madame Belle's boutique, one said, feigning ignorance. Why aren't you with them? Another chimed in, mocking. You shouldn't say that to her. She might not have known. Hilvia tilted her head, her voice dripping with condescension. Are you ignoring us right now? Psyche kept her face impassive, refusing to give them the reaction they wanted. Hilvia's voice grew louder, ensuring everyone nearby could hear. Since she's so rude, that must be why Duke Lester wishes to break off his engagement with her, right? Psyche froze, her heart skipping a beat. Break off the engagement? Don't tell me they know, about our private discussions. Feigning pity, Hilvia continued. Oh my, did you not know? How sad. There's a rumor in high society that Duke Lester will be engaged to someone new soon. Her words cut deeper than Psyche wanted to admit. So it's spreading already? Hilvia smirked, driving the knife further. Well, it was strange that he was engaged to you in the first place, knowing you're a fake. Psyche's resolve. Despite the sting of the words, Psyche's expression didn't falter. They can say what they want. Their opinions don't define me. She met Hilvia's gaze with quiet determination. It's a shame you're so concerned with my affairs, Lady Aslant. Perhaps it's time you found something more meaningful to occupy your days. Hilvia's smirk faltered, but Psyche didn't wait for a reply. She turned on her heel and strode away, her head held high. Let them talk. I have far more important battles to fight. Psyche's thoughts. Is this what she's talking about? Psyche mused bitterly. It's all over for you. Once Duke Lester and Lady Lillian get engaged, everything changes for me. The conversation with the ladies and Duke Lester. As Psyche walked away from the exchange with Hilvia, a voice caught her attention. Duke Lester. She nearly stumbled in surprise, but he quickly reached out to steady her. Excuse me, Lady Psyche, Duke Berndia Lester said. It looked like you were about to fall. I'm all right, thank you. Psyche replied curtly, brushing herself off. Duke Lester's voice held a curious edge as he added, What an interesting conversation you're having, ladies. Would you mind if I joined in as well? Hilvia, undeterred, continued her gossiping. Your Grace, think about the people in the north. The rumor is that you'll soon be engaged to Lady Lillian, her minion chimed in. Yes, high society is buzzing with this rumor. Psyche listened, her heart tightening as she heard the whispers of her impending downfall. If he gets engaged to Lillian, our engagement will naturally end. This is what they want, after all. It's rather good for me. But Duke Lester was quick to dispel the rumor. There's no way. My fiancé is you, not Lady Lillian, he declared, a protective tone in his voice. The murmur of the crowd rippled through the air, and the surprised gasps of the onlookers caught Psyche's attention. Is this how they all feel? Psyche's reply and Duke Lester's confusion. Psyche's heart raced, but she was determined to remain firm in her decision. Yes, she said simply, confirming her desire to end the engagement. Duke Lester stood there, clearly stunned. Her attitude has changed so suddenly. She used to chase after me despite my rejections. He frowned. Is this what it feels like when a cat that used to follow you around suddenly pouts and disappears? A subtle confusion lingered in his thoughts, but Psyche's decision was final. Psyche's continued resolve. So, you're really not going to get engaged to Lillian? Psyche asked, needing to hear it from him one last time. No, Duke Lester confirmed firmly. All right, Psyche said, her voice resolute. Then I will do my best to help you get rid of the monsters. Her words hung in the air, an unspoken promise of her own path, far from the world she once tried to fit into. No more pretending. I have my own way forward now. Psyche's reflection and the swordsmanship revelation. As Duke Lester asked her about her swordsmanship, Psyche's mind wandered back to her past. How long have I been practicing? She thought, her hands slightly trembling at the memory of the secret training sessions. It's been over 10 years, Psyche replied, her voice steady despite the emotions rising in her chest. Now that I've decided to leave this family, I'm not hiding my hands anymore. But after seeing others' reactions, I feel a bit strange. She noticed Duke Lester's shock, and it struck her deeply. He assumed my life was easy as the Duke's daughter, but these scars tell a different story. Her hands, rough and scarred from years of practice, were a symbol of the strength she'd forged in secret, even as her family admonished her against such endeavors. Duke Lester seemed caught off guard by her resilience. I've always been wary of her. She's different from the rumors that say she's dumb. He realized that Psyche's scars and her actions weren't those of someone who lived a sheltered life. Until now, I thought this engagement was just for show, for the sake of her house. But with the information she's given me about the monsters, I need to understand her better. Psyche and Lillian's clash. Just as the conversation seemed to settle, Lillian appeared, her surprise and annoyance palpable. Ha, how unpleasant, Lillian sneered. Having a tryst with the Duke was the urgent matter you needed to attend to? How could you? You said you'd take me with you the next time you saw him, Psyche, unfazed, replied coldly. I said I would talk to His Grace first. I never said I would take her with me. Lillian, maintaining her sweet facade, introduced herself to Duke Lester. How do you do, Your Grace? I'm Lillian. Nice to meet you. Psyche, though, couldn't help but think, Lillian isn't acting like that because she doesn't know proper etiquette. She's using her naive image to her advantage. Lillian's charm and grace were calculated. She knows how to manipulate others. Even to me, she seemed quite lovely. Psyche felt a pang of unease, knowing how effortlessly Lillian could win people over. The disruption and departure. Just as tensions grew, a voice cut through the atmosphere. Get the hell, please step aside, you're in the way. A man's voice, apologetic but firm, called out. I'm sorry, but His Grace is very busy today. Ha! Please excuse us, Lennox Silkisia consoled her. Don't cry, Lillian. He must have terrible taste in women. What does he even see in her? Izar thought Berndia Lester wasn't taking care of Psyche because he was in love with her. He was just acting like that to make others think his engagement to Psyche was enough to entangle him. He's being clever, but more importantly, Izar asked, did you run out of the house to beg for his love? If she can win his heart, it helps the house, so I let her chase him. But how immature of her to defy me like this. Has she forgotten her place? I'm disappointed in you, Psyche Silkisia. I forbid you from using the Silkisia name for a week. In the meantime, you will not be treated like a member of this house or have a servant. Do you have anything you want to say? Psyche replied. I would have been in trouble if he'd prohibited me from leaving my room, but if I just can't use their last name for a week, I'm rather glad. I'm sorry, Izar. Please forgive me, Izar said. I can tell that you are not taking this seriously. In the meantime, I also forbid you from using the training center. Psyche thought. The training center was the only place in the manor where I felt at ease. Due to the house's wish, I was hiding my abilities, but it was the only thing they couldn't take away from me. But now he's banning me from entering the training center? Lennox Silkisia said. Oh, I don't have to see her face for a week. That makes me so happy, Psyche asked. But why? Izar Silkisia asked. What do you mean? It belongs to House Silkisia. Only those that have Silkisia as their last name can use it. The soldiers using the training center do not have the last name, but they belong to this house and contribute to the family, so they are qualified to use it, Psyche said. If that's the case, I believe I also deserve to have access to it, Lennox replied. Have you lost your mind? Logan Silkisia explained. Make her think she's nothing without us. We have to crush her self-esteem so that she clings to this house. For some reason, Father is strangely obsessed with Psyche. I guess I have no choice. Since threatening her is not working, I'll work with her a little. You're right. You have as much right as they do. Shall we compare you not to the soldiers, but rather the daughters of other houses then? Psyche thought, but they are all men. They'll eventually lead their houses. But you're a woman who will only play a supporting role. Since your fundamental roles are different, your rights are as well. What he's saying sounds good on the surface, but has no substance. I used to obsess over statements like that. I thought if I just did what they said, they would acknowledge me. No, that's not how I'm going to live my life. What I do with my life is my choice. It's not for you to decide, Psyche said. Do you know what you're saying right now? When Father is not here, my word is the word of House Silkisia. Are you going to defy me? Was I ever a member of House Silkisia? Isn't she the one from the rumors? The daughter of Duke Silkisia, Lennox shouted. Who cares? A fake is a fake. I'm sure you know how I've been treated inside and outside the manor. You knew, but you've been ignoring it. Hey! Have you really lost your mind? Lennox shouted. How dare you talk so rudely to Izar? If you don't sit down right now, you won't be able to leave the manor for a week. Let's finish the conversation back at the manor. No, I'd like to finish it here, Psyche said. I'll have a duel with any soldier of your choosing. I'll prove my qualifications to use the training center, not as the daughter of the Duke. But my blade, Isolate added. Didn't you say your ideal type of woman is someone you can spar with using swords? Berndia Lester said. Stop talking nonsense and call the carriage. I have. It'll be here soon. Anyway, if she's been practicing for over 10 years, she'd be able to spar with you, no? Are you saying she's a sword master? I'm just saying, you don't have to be so serious about it. It seems like she has changed her strategy. She must be trying to grab my attention this way. Or it could be that she doesn't love you anymore, Berndia Lester added. She used to be all over me. Is it possible to fall out of love overnight? Icide replied. It's possible for people to fall in love at first sight. Well, it does seem like a stretch to say she's simply doing this to get my attention. According to Crow's report, it seems like the range of her activities has changed quite a bit lately, Icide explained. Most of them are related to finding, Your Grace. There are people here, so don't cause a scene. Is the carriage almost here? It'll be here soon. Oh, there it is. Your Grace. Here's your medicine. You know. Lady Lillian. Is it possible that she has that ability? Isn't it a blessing passed down from generation to generation through the lineage of House Silkisia? Their side wanted to get engaged and such, so I thought, maybe, Berndia Lester said. If she did, they wouldn't have stayed quiet about it. They would have used that to put a new leash on me. Even if she did have it, I'd decline. I'd rather take the medicine for the rest of my life than have House Silkisia put a leash around my neck. I should get more medicine. Miss Leah will be out of the office for a while, so you won't be able to see her anytime soon. Then give me the earliest appointment possible. Oh, the appointment your fiancé made to discuss the Lester Duchy is the earliest. Wait, who made an appointment? She's not supposed to give out info on other clients, she replied. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Please forget what you just heard. She's meeting not a fire magician, but an ice magician to discuss the monsters in the north. Everyone knows that using ice against the monsters in the north is forbidden. In most cases, they are immune to the cold, or their ice attributes allow them to absorb ice, which makes them bigger and more ferocious. I need to see Lady Psyche. Can you tell me when I have a free day in my schedule? Psyche thought. All right, I'm ready. How long has it been since I sparred with someone instead of practicing alone? The last match was about a year ago when Azar called me to try out a new sword technique. Beating him was easier than I thought, so I tried desperately not to win. But it seemed like he caught on because my acting was so bad. After that, he never wanted to spar with me again, saying he couldn't possibly raise his sword against his fragile younger sister. When did Melissa put the tea there? Throwing it out every day is such a hassle. Lord Azar sent this tea, so be grateful and drink it, came the reply. There was conversation among the men. I understand that she's young, but still, she's so reckless. Judging from the atmosphere, it looked like Lennox twisted my words and spread a rumor. Psyche thought, Azar actually wanted to forget the whole thing, but that's not possible anymore. I guess it's good that things turned out this way. Everyone seems to know why we've gathered here. One man spoke up. Psyche wants to spar with one of you. What if Lady Psyche gets hurt? Another asked. She's being punished right now, so she's not a member of House Silkisia for the time being. Also, she asked for this, so even if she gets hurt, there won't be any consequences. Is there anyone who'd like to volunteer? She's not a member of House Silkisia right now, someone questioned. Then what should we do? Does that mean I don't have to hold back? Sir Aiden entered. I look forward to sparring with you, Psyche thought. I remember him. He's a noble. I look forward to it as well. It doesn't matter who my opponent is. I just need to show them what I can do. Today marks the third day of sparring with Aiden. There are noticeably more soldiers loitering around the area where I train. I was planning to finish him with one blow, thinking he might underestimate me, but seeing his attitude, I'm not sure anymore. Unlike when I sparred with Azar, I don't have to lose on purpose. I wonder if it'll be okay to have a bit of fun with this match. A voice from the crowd commented. Sir Aiden is going too easy on her. Another shouted. Hey, idiot! That's not the right move. Are you blind? A soldier who had been watching asked. Did you see that? How did she do that from such a distance? Is Lady Psyche better than him? And rather than just watching me, Aiden was the only one who actually spoke to me. Is there anything I can help you with? He asked. I replied. I'm alright. I appreciate the thought. I thought to myself, since he didn't know how good I was, it seemed like he volunteered because the other excited soldiers might hurt me. He's the best one among the current enlisted soldiers. Winning against him cleared the atmosphere at once. He has good skills, attitude, and personality, so why did he enlist as a soldier? He could have joined the Imperial Guard. If one were to choose the name of the Imperial Guard as their surname, they would no longer belong to their house and would instead take on a new identity as a knight, regardless of their family's wishes. I couldn't help but wonder, he's probably wondering why I stay here and endure all kinds of humiliation even though I have the talent. But from my point of view, joining the Imperial Guard isn't a very good option either. There are 2 Imperial Guards where I could take advantage of becoming a knight. There's Akasha, where Azar is the vice captain. In reality, it's practically under the control of House Silkisia. On the other hand, Avental is under the control of the Crown Prince. They're at odds with House Silkisia, so they would have a problem with my background or not trust me, Psyche added, and when I leave this house, there's something I'd like to accomplish. I want to be recognized and loved by people who didn't ignore me before. I want to live for myself and have a normal life, like ordinary people. So, joining a specific group just to escape House Silkisia isn't the answer. Meanwhile, Melissa shouted, Duke Lester has never visited me at this hour before. I wonder why he's here. She looked at me, noticing the sweat on my face. You've been sweating. You can't go see him like that. You should take a bath first. I thought to myself. I thought it was just in my head, but she's dragging her feet even though she's not helping me get ready. I asked her, Melissa, aren't we going to be late? She replied nonchalantly. No, ladies always take a long time to get ready. I'm done, so let's head to the parlor. I hesitated, but then she suggested, how about you change into a different dress? I put one over there, I asked. What's the name of it? I feel bad making Azar get it for me all the time. I was thinking about getting some for myself. Melissa seemed unsure. I don't know because it doesn't have a label. Would you like me to bring you the bottle? I thought to myself, she's probably saying that because she doesn't want the hassle of serving me tea, but I'm rather grateful. As we finally made our way to the parlor, Lady Lillian greeted me. I'm sorry I'm late. Have you been waiting for a long time? She asked. I responded. Are you sure you weren't deliberately taking your time? She added. She said that you promised to arrange a meeting for her to meet me. I clarified. No, I never said that. She insisted on meeting you, so I told her that I'd ask you about it first. Actually, I had no idea that your grace would be here today anyway. As I looked at Duke Lester, I noted, he came without prior notice due to suspicion. He then said, Anyway, I'll tell you once again that I have no intention of getting engaged to Lady Lillian. The last time we met, she directly asked me about getting engaged to her. I thought he told her that to her face. No wonder Lillian looked so upset earlier. Then, Duke Lester revealed. Anyway, I didn't come here to talk about this. A few days ago, I stopped by the association to take care of something, and I heard that you're meeting with the ice magician tomorrow. Psyche was caught off guard by Berndia Lester's question. Why did you make an appointment to meet an ice magician? She wondered, how does he know about that? Did he have someone follow me? Berndia continued, trying to ease the tension. I stopped by the Magic Association for personal reasons and heard that you had an appointment. The receptionist told me. Psyche thought, damn it. I just made her put her guard up by asking that out of the blue. She then explained. Well, there's a rumor that we're about to break up, but I told the association it was related to the duchy, Psyche replied. Yes, I made an appointment because I wanted to get some information about the northern monsters. Berndia, confused, responded. You're asking about the northern monsters to an ice magician? Are you serious? Psyche thought to herself, he thinks it's strange because he only has some information about the monsters. I was planning to tell him after I saw the magician, but since the contract is in place, it might be better to tell him now, she calmly explained. The characteristics of those monsters and the Moonstone's light attribute that's effective on them have not been revealed yet at this point in time, but fortunately for me, I have an appropriate excuse, Berndia responded. Is that true? Where did you get that information? Psyche assured him. It's okay. It's an important issue. I was lucky enough to find this in a book in our library. I hope you can understand that I cannot show you the book, she continued. There were many dungeons in the southern part of the empire, where the Silkisia duchy was located. Naturally, dungeon investigations and research were carried out steadily within House Silkisia. Since they were family assets, information wasn't shared with other houses. Berndia thought, if that's true, the reason they keep reviving must be because the northern magicians have been using fire against them. Psyche nodded, confirming. Yes, since the monsters have already absorbed the warmth of magic and have become stronger, we should use light-attributed moonstones to injure them and expose them to the cold, she continued. Grind the moonstones and put it on the weapons. Berndia was surprised by the method. It's something I never would have tried because moonstones are corrosive to iron, but it's quite effective if it's used to pierce through the monster's skin, Psyche added. In addition, there is a magic stone mine in our territory, so we can easily provide stones for this, she smiled slightly. If we do that, the monsters will lose warmth and become slow, Berndia finally understood. So the reason you wanted to see the ice magician is? Psyche nodded. Yes, I wanted to ask if there was any magic spell that would work after that. And while this method works for Turk and Ildia, it won't work for Assam, Berndia thought to himself. That's why I also wanted the association's advice on how to get rid of Assam. He added, also, this probably goes against the wishes of the head of House Silkisia. He couldn't help but reflect on how he was the one benefiting from this whole situation. Honestly, I'm the only one who benefits from this. I'm truly grateful, but why is she working so hard on this? He had expected Psyche to have personal reasons tied to the engagement ring, but you never raised the issue once since the engagement, so I don't think the ring is the real problem. He was puzzled. Psyche was not the type to go against her family's wishes for personal reasons. What in the world has caused her to change her values completely overnight? And although I haven't confirmed her skills yet, she's been practicing swordsmanship for 10 years, knows about moonstones, and has information about the monsters. It hadn't gone according to his plan, but in the end, it worked out better. He was able to deliver the information naturally. Melissa's words, "Why do you keep calling for me?" "I'm busy," Melissa asked. A little irritated, Psyche replied, "The tea we talked about earlier. I thought I should get it from you now so I can drink it tomorrow." "Oh, Lord Azar took it, saying he had to check something," Melissa added, which immediately set off alarms in Psyche's mind. Psyche's thoughts. Psyche thought back, the flowers that are normally left untouched are gone. Even when I was locked up in solitary confinement, Azar sent me tea, saying it was for his sick little sister. That's why I never imagined that I would die even though my mana was being restrained and I was locked up in solitary confinement. But now, with the tea possibly being poisoned, everything made sense. I was too complacent. I should have saved some of the leaves left at the bottom of the cup. She remembered the taste, the smell, and the dizziness she felt after drinking it. But that's not enough to prove anything. Well, even if there's proof, it makes no difference. He could deny it, and that'd be the end of it. She thought, judging from the state of the flower, it certainly had poison in it, but I drank it for 10 years. A detox. Maybe it can be done at the temple. I should stop by there tomorrow after the meeting. Isolet's concern. Isolet's voice cut through her thoughts. Are you going with Lady Psyche to see Miss Leah? She always threatens to reveal your secret every chance she gets. You're going to see someone like that with Lady Psyche? Isolet continued, her concern growing. Until now, you only did things I could rectify for you, but now... Ugh, I don't know. Doing this might expose your weakness to Lady Psyche. Berndia, still lost in his own thoughts, heard Isolet's words, and as she worried about Psyche, Berndia thought, why would they not like that? With the current situation, wouldn't it be smarter to raise the family's prestige by giving the sword to whoever is willing, even if she's adopted? If she didn't like swordsmanship, it would be a different story, but suddenly, a realization hit him. Oh, there's one possible scenario that makes sense. He thought about the power dynamics and wondered if Psyche has the talent that can absolutely overpower the air. Oh, look who's here. It's the arrogant rookie. A voice interrupted Berndia's musings as the atmosphere shifted. A girl, unfazed, replied casually. Come, have a seat. Okay, so your name, wait, you're Psyche Silkisia? Her eyes widened in recognition. Hey, you've got skills, rookie. You got engaged to a duke's pretty daughter. Psyche, somewhat taken aback by the boldness, replied coolly. Alright, what's the reason you've come here? The girl shifted slightly, not intimidated. I get what you're saying, but why are you worrying about this and not him? But she made the appointment, and it seems she requested the information as well. Psyche frowned, not quite understanding the girl's point. Why does that matter? What's important is whether you have the information we need. Without missing a beat, the girl answered confidently. Of course I do. Psyche leaned forward, her voice taking on a serious edge. That's just the fee to have a meeting with me. So, what is it this time? She added with a smirk. You still catch on quickly, rookie. The girl just shrugged, seemingly unbothered by the casual jabs. Hold on. Where did I put it? After a brief pause, she triumphantly pulled out a piece of paper. Oh, here it is, Berndia Lester's thoughts. Berndia's eyes narrowed as he glanced at the paper. What's this? He studied the coordinates, his mind racing. Coordinates of the auction house, the girl, seemingly nonchalant, added. The auction house. Her tone was casual, but it carried an air of importance. Berndia was taken aback. An auction house? Why would they be involved in this? His mind turned over the possibilities, each more suspicious than the last. What was going on here? She casually revealed. I heard the item will be sold this time. Don't send someone to go. I want you to go there yourself. She paused for a moment before adding. Oh, instead of money, they're exchanging favors. Psyche's eyes narrowed, but she didn't show much outward concern. All right. What's the item? Her tone was sharp yet calm. The girl responded without hesitation. It's the same as last time. It's Keaton's necklace, the poison dart necklace. Psyche's breath caught for a moment. The poison dart necklace? She sounded almost incredulous. Could it be? Her thoughts raced, flashbacks of a previous attempt flooding her mind. After the last failed attempt, you said you weren't going to investigate it anymore. The girl gave a shrug. No way. Maybe it's some other necklace. Psyche, trying to keep her composure, pressed. What does the necklace you just mentioned look like? The girl was nonchalant, explaining. It's just an ordinary gold necklace that has a gaudy emerald in the center. Psyche's face became stony as the gravity of the situation settled in. As soon as someone puts this on, a poisonous needle comes out. They die within minutes. Her words hung in the air like a threat. It's the same necklace. For a long moment, Psyche stood silent. Well, it's not a happy story, so it's possible no one told her, but her reaction is a bit weird. Her gaze lingered on the girl, trying to gauge her sincerity. So you really don't know anything? The girl met her stare with an unwavering confidence. No, it's not strong enough to be God's power. It's not long enough to be God's. She trailed off with an ominous implication. Psyche's mind raced as she pieced together the fragmented information. This necklace, it was supposed to be destroyed. But why is it still circulating? And why was the girl so casual about it? Something wasn't adding up, and Psyche couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes had just escalated drastically. A long time ago, when the empire was first founded, Vicente, the god of fate, loved the first emperor and bestowed a blessing upon him. However, fearing that power would become lopsided, the emperor begged for the blessing to be distributed among his vassals, and Vicente agreed. Thus, 4 families with supernatural powers were created through Vicente's power. In each generation, there was only one with the ability in each house, though sometimes it skipped a generation, leaving no one in the family with the gift. The universally known way to confirm whether someone had supernatural powers was through the discriminate ceremony performed by the high priest in Vicente's temple. Berndia Lester reflected on history, noting that the power of each house was proportional to the chosen one's abilities. Currently, House Silkisia lacked anyone with the ability, which made it strange that Lady Lillian's potential hadn't been checked. However, there was the matter of Lady Psyche, who had been adopted. The current duke would have had a reason for his actions, but it was puzzling. There was no way Leah would have spoken without a basis for her claim. Meanwhile, Psyche worried to herself. I hope my excuse didn't sound too awkward. It'll be alright. Neither of them said anything. Amid her thoughts, preparations for an event carried on outside. The carriage for the master of the house had arrived. Flowers were being arranged, and it was clear that with Lillian found and the Duke returned, a grand banquet was being planned for that evening. Psyche thought, I don't want to attend, but they're not going to care what I want. I should just pretend to be sick. Her unease deepened as she continued thinking. That's why I couldn't send a telegram. I'm sorry. Even though I see her, I can't believe it. How can Lillian be back? And why is the Duke upset? Meanwhile, House Silkisia confirmed. The temple said they've already completed the test. She matched your hair and blood. There's no way. It's not possible for Lillian to come back. The disbelief echoed in the room as the tension thickened. I'll look into this myself. You stay out of it. It doesn't matter what happened, she's not important. The sound of footsteps interrupted the brooding silence. Who's out there? A voice hesitated, uncertain. What do I do now? Meanwhile, outside, two voices whispered. We're here to say hello to Father. Psyche's mind raced. Why did the Duke say those things? Is he not happy that Lillian is back? A knock on the door startled her. Psyche, are you in there? I heard you were out and came back. Logan Silkisia's voice called out. Psyche opened the door slightly, her expression guarded. What brings you here? She asked, trying to hide her unease. I've been away for a while, but you're not even going to greet me. Logan teased, though his gaze carried more weight than his words. How have you been? Psyche replied cautiously. Before Logan could answer, her father joined them. In a little bit, a party to celebrate Lillian's return will be held in the garden. Everyone in the manor will be attending, so make sure you're there too. I'm sorry, Psyche said softly, but I'm not feeling well today. You can at least show your face for a little bit, can't you? Her father pressed. It's hard for me to even move today, she insisted, her voice barely above a whisper. Further down the hall, a dismissive comment drifted through the air. Oh, what? She's here? Of course she is. She's always desperate to join in everything. Psyche stiffened, pretending not to hear. The Duke's acting very strange, she thought to herself. He never once said anything kind like that to me before. I'd better observe the situation a little more. As the garden filled with laughter and chatter, Lillian's voice rang out. Psyche! You came. I'm so happy. Psyche forced a small smile. Why? Because me being here makes you shine more? I'm happy that you're back too, Psyche added quietly, her tone carrying an undercurrent of sorrow. If you hadn't appeared, I would have lived my entire life chasing after this family's love that I would never receive. The crowd hushed as Logan Silkisia stepped forward. Today is a joyous day. I came back after a hard assignment and found out that my daughter, whom I thought was dead, is alive. I'm sure you all know her, but let me formally introduce her to you. His voice resonated with pride, his words echoed in the air, but for Psyche, the celebration only deepened the ache in her heart. Psyche has been seeing Duke Lester more often lately, but that's about it. Whispers began circulating. She's been seeing Berndia Lester, huh? Could it be that she's planning to leave here and join that house? But there's no way they're going to accept her. How foolish of her. Another voice, harsher and more commanding, cut through the speculation. You idiot! Do you think anyone would be able to follow her in secret when she's even more talented than you? We must bring her back to our side no matter what. Make her believe that House Silkisia is the only place for someone like her. Do you understand? A reluctant response followed. I'll do whatever it takes. The plotting and doubts were laced with underlying resentment. Father has never been affectionate toward any of his children, so I didn't believe it from the beginning that Psyche was Lillian's substitute. After lying to all of us, he brought her into the family, but he neglected and pretended not to be interested in her, isolated her from her surroundings, and brainwashed her to believe that this family was all she had. Yes, someone agreed. That sounds good. And I have something to tell you. I'll also go there tomorrow. Berndia Lester appeared, breaking the tension. And just where are you going to? He asked sharply. Psyche, composed as always, replied. I'll also be going to the illegal auction house Miss Leah mentioned. Berndia raised an eyebrow. Do you know what you'll be doing there? Yes, she answered, her tone unwavering. You're going there to steal the necklace. The same incident happened in the past. I can't remember the exact date, but around this time, I couldn't see Duke Lester for a while. I can't see him today either. Her thoughts swirled as she tried to piece together the timeline. This time, he met with Miss Leah because I was requesting information, but he said that he needed something from her as well. Perhaps that was when he agreed to do this and failed. Berndia interrupted her inner musings. Just what in the world are you thinking? I'm trying to help you because you're going to fail, Psyche said curtly. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm telling you in advance, so you remember to cover your ring just in case. Berndia sighed, his frustration evident. This makes things more complicated. Wait, everything will be fine if you just don't come. I'm not going there because I want to, Psyche countered, her gaze firm. Deliberately trying to make me fail? Are you doing this because you suddenly want to keep our engagement but can't because we signed that contract? Her words hung in the air, a challenge and a revelation all at once. Psyche met Berndia Lester's sharp gaze with an unflinching expression. Your Grace, may I be honest with you? Berndia crossed his arms. No matter what you say, I'm not going to change my. I'd be more than happy to call off our engagement right now, she interjected. You're afraid that if you break it off, it'll upset His Majesty, and you won't get help from the Imperial Guards. I understand why you're doing this. It's probably because of the way I acted in the past. Her words were calm but cutting. But people change, and I no longer have any feelings for you. And it'll remain that way moving forward. That's all I have to say, so I'll take my leave now. I need to prepare for the auction house tomorrow. As Psyche turned to leave, she heard a voice behind her. May I have a word with you, Psyche? Lillian called, her tone deceptively soft. The confrontation was inevitable. How can you do this to me? Lillian demanded, her voice trembling with barely suppressed anger. You said you would give it all up. You said you would give it all back to me. But you kept your position as the Duke's daughter and as Duke Lester's fiancé. Psyche's response was measured. I'll give you back everything that belongs to you. I did say that. It's not fair, Lillian snapped. They are all supposed to be mine to begin with. When the owner returns, you're supposed to give it all back. Why do both Father and Duke Lester support only you? You're the fake, and I'm the real one. Psyche's expression didn't waver. Even in the past, Duke Lester wasn't receptive to your advances. But you were firmly set as the Duke's daughter, so you never said things like this to me. You pretended to be innocent and kind, offering your hand as if you felt sorry for me. Lillian glared. You did something, didn't you? There's no other explanation for it. After saying all that to me, did you go to Father and beg him not to abandon you? Psyche's voice was cold. I know what you're trying to say. How devastating it feels when something you believed was yours gets taken away by someone else. But I have no reason or obligation to comfort you. How can the victim comfort the perpetrator? I never asked anyone to let me stay here after you came back. Psyche added. Do you really think I believe that? Lillian spat. Whether you believe it or not is up to you, Psyche replied unfazed. If you hate me so much, why don't you ask your father to kick me out since I'm a fake? Or are you not confident it'll work? Psyche's words landed like a blade. Think about it carefully. As you said, if we were to assume I asked Duke Lester and Father for such things, then the fact they granted me my wish means that those two people thought I was more important than you. You may not want to believe it, but I understand you want to blame me. Just don't overdo it. Unless, of course, you want to announce to the world that you have less value than me. Her final words hung in the air, unyielding and undeniable. Psyche walked the dimly lit corridors of the estate, her thoughts swirling. Things have been quiet for the past few days. This is good. If another variable doesn't arise, just how long will what the Duke said after he returned last for? I should be able to move around more comfortably like this. Her quiet contemplation was interrupted by a familiar voice. Where are you going at this late hour? Lennox asked, his tone calm but inquisitive. Psyche turned, her face neutral. I'm going to go for a walk, she thought quickly. It's okay. I feel the punishment you gave me is still in effect, so. She gave a small nod, hoping to deflect further questioning. A few minutes later, Psyche found herself walking alongside Sir Aidan, who remained a step behind her as if guarding her path. I'll wait here, he said as they reached a crossroads in the garden. Feel free to go where you need to go. Psyche raised an eyebrow. Do you know where I am going? Then how do you know when I'll be back? Wait, so he's going to put my wishes ahead of the family head's order? Really? Even if he has good manners, this doesn't make sense. Aiden cleared his throat, his face unusually serious. I wanted to tell you this at the training center last time, but my name is Aiden Hilais. Psyche froze. Hilais? Aiden nodded. It's one of the houses that has complete loyalty to House Silkisia. Her mind raced. I remember that the Baron himself came off looking quite mean, but he doesn't look like him at all. I don't get it. The Baron is greedy for power, but a person like that sent his son to join another house as a private soldier? I have no connection to my family since I have severed my ties with my father. Aiden explained, his tone resolute. I told you my last name because I thought you'd be able to trust me only if I wasn't hiding anything. Psyche tilted her head. Trust you with what? There's something I'd like to confirm. Aiden replied. It's something that's important to you as well. I would like you to come with me to the Temple of Destiny. Psyche frowned. The Temple of Destiny? Come to think of it, I've received this type of recommendation from time to time. She muttered. Her silver hair caught the moonlight as she thought aloud. Since silver hair is not very common, Aiden hesitated but finally added, I'm sorry, but I'd like to tell you that a paternity test is useless. The words hung in the air, and Psyche felt a sudden chill despite the warm night. What was Aiden trying to uncover? And why did it feel like the answers might change everything? Psyche stood silently as Aiden finished speaking, her mind racing. Lillian has already come back, and I was examined when I was adopted. What could he possibly mean by this? No, I'm not asking you to take that test, Aiden interjected quickly, as though reading her thoughts. Even if I tell you now, you won't believe it. In fact, I still don't quite believe it either. I'm sorry, this is all I can tell you for now. His voice was steady but tinged with regret. Psyche glanced at him, unsure of how to respond. So, is going to the temple with you a condition you're proposing for letting me go now? Aiden shook his head. From the beginning, I came to House Silkisia to meet you. I have no intention of forcing you to do something you don't want to do. However, he hesitated, looking away for a moment. I'm afraid that I'll be kicked out of here soon, and this might be the last time I talk to you. I didn't want to miss this opportunity. Psyche's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Aiden straightened, his expression resolute. Since you seem to have an urgent matter to attend to, I will end our conversation here. If you are interested in hearing more from me, I'll wait for you here around this time a week from now. Please take care. Psyche mulled over his words. Is it all right for me to trust him right now? I don't have time to think about this now. All right, she finally said. See you here in a week. Later that evening, Psyche took out a bracelet from her belongings. She held it carefully, charging the mana within it before turning the gem 3 times. I think it worked properly. I'm glad I have this useful magic tool. I got it because I thought no one would acknowledge me because I'm a woman. I never thought I'd be using it for something like this. The gem glowed faintly, signaling its activation. She slipped through the streets with purpose. They rented a building owned by the imperial family and set up an illegal auction. The organizer must be really brave. Since the ring's reacting, Duke Lester must already be in that building. Thanks to Azar and Aiden, I got here too late. I better hurry. Arriving at the designated location, Psyche whispered a familiar incantation. May your breath dwell in the stars in the night sky. She murmured. A guard stepped forward, eyeing her carefully. The auction house is this way, he said, gesturing toward an inconspicuous door. The Duke seems to have thought I wouldn't be able to get in here if he went in by himself first, but I already know the password to the auction house because I had to clean up the mess Lennox made in the past. Psyche smiled faintly, brushing past the guard. Let's see what Duke Lester's really after. Psyche observed the auction closely, her gaze flicking between the auctioneer and the items on display. Seeing that the ring reacted in a different spot than the auction house, it seems the Duke entered through a different route than the auction participants, just like Miss Leah requested. Actually, maybe this worked out rather well for me. I'll go to the auction side and check the situation there. She shifted in her seat, careful not to draw attention. Everything is going smoothly without any problems, so I don't think I missed it. sitting next to an eager bidder could attract too much attention. Her eyes fell on the bidder next to her, a woman wielding a fancy fan. That's Sylvia Aslant. No wonder Marquis Aslant has been complaining about her spending habits. She's bidding on every item. Psyche recalled whispers of Hilvia's penchant for extravagant purchases and even rumors of illegal private loans. The auctioneer's voice rose above the murmur of the crowd. Sold for 300,000 gold. The next item is. The bids climbed rapidly, but Psyche's focus was elsewhere. The necklace hasn't been shown yet, so it must be the highlight he's referring to. The Duke's location is pinging somewhere else. Maybe he couldn't find the necklace and failed. The auctioneer's tone shifted, capturing the audience's full attention. Ladies and gentlemen, you have waited a long time. Finally, the next product is the highlight of the day. Excitement rippled through the room. I'm sure you've all heard of it. It's the famous Keaton's necklace that once belonged to the infamous villainous Reese. The crowd buzzed with interest, but Psyche's mind raced. Keaton's necklace? The auctioneer continued, recounting the necklace's dark history. About 20 years ago, a noble lady named Reese gave an emerald necklace to the beautiful crown princess. However, the necklace was equipped with a device that immediately released a poisonous needle when worn around the neck. Right before the crown princess put it on, the true purpose of this necklace was revealed when a maid, mesmerized by its beauty, secretly tried it on, and died as a result. Gasps echoed across the hall. Reese was captured, and her family was destroyed for attempting to kill the crown princess. 2 years later, when the crown prince became emperor, he declared that her family had already paid for their sins. Since they were an important family in the empire's history, he showed mercy, allowing distant relatives to continue the family line. The tale, steeped in intrigue and betrayal, piqued Psyche's curiosity. It sounds like a true story, but I've never seen it in any history books. And now that I think about it, it's strange. It's common for even distant relatives to be executed for attempting to harm the imperial family. Why were they spared and later revived? Her thoughts spiraled as she connected the dots. Something's off. Is there more to this necklace's story than meets the eye? And how is the Duke involved? Psyche tightened her grip on the ring hidden in her palm. She needed answers, and fast. The panic among the crowd intensified as a muffled boom echoed through the building. What's happening? Someone shouted. A man attempted to calm the crowd, though his voice faltered. It looks like the workers moving the boxes behind the stage accidentally set off a magic tool. We'll check it in. Why aren't you letting us out of here? Someone else screamed. We're in danger. Meanwhile, Psyche's thoughts were racing as she moved closer to the Duke's location. I'm getting closer to His Grace's location. I need to hurry. Something's off. Right after the explosion, he was moving, but now he hasn't moved in a while. Did something happen to him? Her urgency was met with resistance as guards and attackers clashed near the exits. Shouts and clashes of steel filled the air. Don't let him get out of here! Block the entrance! Is there another intruder besides me? Psyche wondered, gripping her sword tightly. At last, she found the Duke, his expression composed but his words revealing the gravity of the situation. Did you find the necklace? She asked. It was a trap, he replied. What was being auctioned was a fake. A curse was placed on it to bait those looking for the real necklace. If nothing had happened tonight, the organizer would have cancelled the auction under some pretext. Psyche frowned, connecting the dots. Then Miss Leah's insistence on stealing it instead of purchasing it. She probably wanted me to check if it was a trap or not, the Duke said flatly, though his eyes gleamed with understanding. Their escape was fraught with challenges. The Duke's ability to maintain his magic faltered, forcing them to abandon any disguise. Psyche noticed his arm trembling slightly as he muttered. The curse on my arm has become active again. She narrowed her eyes at the approaching threat. If I weren't here, he would have easily dodged it, but he took the blow to save me. Her heart clenched at the thought, but she steeled herself. I have to fight this guy. The Duke glanced at her, his lips quirking up despite the danger. Let's spar together later. Psyche blinked in surprise. Spar together? I heard you reject all sparring requests because no one is on your level. Why me? A faint smile played on his lips. Because you are. Her chest swelled with unexpected pride. He's acknowledging my swordsmanship. That sounds good. she replied, her tone firm. Let's do it, Your Grace. But the moment of camaraderie was short-lived as their foes surged forward. Psyche and the Duke moved in sync, each protecting the other as they fought to survive the night. Oh, you're going to fight me? What a really brave wench you are, he sneered. It looks like you've had some training. But how dare you attack me with such obvious moves? Probably learned in some boring training, Psyche's mind raced. In my current state, taking him on by myself is difficult. At this rate, the guards will be here soon. Fortunately, I don't think he recognizes me. She clenched her fists. I have no choice. I have to unlock my mana and get rid of him quickly. The man's eyes widened. Where did this power suddenly come from? Psyche could feel her power surging as she unleashed her hidden mana. But the strain was almost immediate. No. I'm reaching my limit so quickly. This damn cursed ability, the flame that was raging in my body, it's the one that only appears in the descendants of House Silkisia, she thought bitterly. The unmelting ice, the damage from the curse intensified, her control slipping away as the power consumed her. If it weren't for the curse on my left arm, it's driving me crazy. From a distance, Duke Berndia watched the battle unfold with increasing concern. I think Lady Psyche is fighting that guy, he thought, studying the exchange. The opponent is highly skilled. Lady Psyche's skills are good, but she's having a hard time. He recalled the powerful surprise attack he'd received earlier, the force of it gnawing at his strength. The power that devours even its owner, the flame is vying out. What's this sensation? Back in the fray, Psyche's condition was rapidly deteriorating. Her cursed power was overwhelming, and the burning sensation from the flame felt uncontrollable. Watch out, this flame is... Duke Berndia warned, but it was too late. With her strength fading, Psyche grimaced, struggling to maintain control. I can't, she gasped, trying to steady herself, but the curse was unraveling her efforts. The Duke stumbled into view, his voice strained but resolute. You held on well, Lady Psyche, he said, voice laced with concern. Oh no. I have no more strength left in my legs. Are you feeling better? She nodded weakly. Thanks to you, I was able to recover somewhat. But I need to end this now. The Duke's eyes narrowed. Don't worry about him. The fact that someone that skilled is working here means he's a criminal of some sort. But it's not just because of that. I felt kind of weird today. I had much more power than usual. Suddenly, he noticed something disturbing. Oh no. The sword is turning into ice. Psyche's cursed power was taking on a life of its own, its intensity wreaking havoc on both her and the Duke as they struggled to control the rapidly escalating situation. As the intensity of the battle subsided and the immediate danger passed, Duke Berndia Lester's attention shifted to Psyche, who was still recovering from the overwhelming curse and strain of the fight. Is the sword broken? He asked, observing the dull blade in her hand. Psyche gave a resigned nod. Yes, the blade is dull now. I'd better get a new one. Duke Berndia's thoughts raced. This is the first time since my power became active that my body has felt like my own. Is this even possible? His eyes flickered as he felt the power returning to its previous state. Has she been hiding her power? She's controlling it to this degree, so it's only natural I didn't notice. He glanced at his own condition, still reeling from the aftermath of the battle. I haven't fully recovered, so I couldn't control my strength. It's alright. I don't have any mana left, so I don't think I can change my appearance anymore. Suppressing this is my priority right now, so I'd rather not use a lot of mana if I can help it myself. Psyche, her energy still drained, spoke softly. Then we should get out of here quickly. We're almost there. If we just turn that corner. But before they could proceed, Psyche faltered, feeling unwell. I'm cold. I'm hungry. I feel sick. Aren't they coming? Did my curse make them run away? Later, as Psyche regained consciousness, a familiar voice called out to her. Are you awake now, Lady Psyche? Psyche slowly opened her eyes, disoriented. Where am I? You're in Duke Lester's mansion, Melissa replied, a touch of relief in her voice. Psyche's gaze flickered, confused. Meanwhile, a girl, possibly one of the servants, spoke with a surprising bluntness. Oh wow. You didn't die? Duke Berndia, noticing the exchange, raised an eyebrow. Are you disappointed that you didn't get what you wanted? His voice was stern, but his eyes held an edge of curiosity. So what about the necklace? You knew it was a fake, didn't you? The girl shifted, looking guilty. Well, to some extent. You probably guessed it too, right? Duke Berndia's expression softened, and he explained in more detail. There were fake monsters in the auction house. It must have been the work of worshippers of the forbidden magic. I had a hard time fighting the guards because I used all my strength to kill the fake monsters, but I survived thanks to Lady Psyche. As Duke Berndia Lester returned, a figure who had been waiting in the shadows spoke with clear disapproval. Lady Psyche? You took her with you? The voice questioned, a sense of disbelief in the air. Berndia sighed, clearly anticipating the reaction. I knew you would react this way. The forbidden magic and the Reese incident seemed to be related to each other. He paused for a moment, his voice shifting to one of authority. I ask you as the master of the unquenchable flame, and the duke who rules the northern part of the empire, the Leicester Duchy. Psyche, still in the midst of gathering herself, responded coolly. Psyche Silkisia is Reese. So she's your younger sister's daughter. She cut herself off sharply. Don't push it. She has nothing to do with me. The tension was palpable, but the question hung in the air. Then why did you do that? I was just fascinated. So get out of here now. Unless you want to die. Realizing the danger of pushing her further, the figure relented, backing down. All right then, I'll see you next time. The figure's thoughts lingered, analyzing the situation. Only those of House Silkisia have the ability to create ice that doesn't melt. Also, Leah's curiosity towards Psyche, and even the hostility she showed me, proves that Psyche Silkisia isn't the Duke's fake daughter. Without a doubt, she's the real daughter. As Psyche sat in the room, recovering from the shock and exhaustion, a servant entered with a bright smile. Welcome back, Master! I was actually on my way to inform you. She insists on leaving right away. Psyche, hearing the servant's words, wasn't entirely convinced of her own recovery. She turned her attention to Duke Berndia, her voice faint but steady. Duke Berndia Lester, he looked at her, his eyes full of concern. Are you feeling better? I didn't think you were injured, so I was so surprised when you suddenly passed out. Psyche shook her head slowly. No. I'm not feeling well. I'd like to pretend that I'm alright, but right now, I feel really sick and dizzy. Duke Berndia's brows furrowed. But why? My body has never reacted like this after using a bit of mana. Psyche's mind raced, sensing the urgency of the situation. A day has passed already. There's no way he's still there. If Duke Lester sent a letter to the mansion, it's like admitting Aiden wasn't escorting me properly. Her determination solidified. No, I have to go back right now. She straightened, speaking with conviction. May I borrow your carriage? The Duke hesitated, concern clouding his expression. Given your state, you should rest. Psyche's gaze hardened as she spoke with resolve. If it is hard to let me use your carriage, I'll grab one from the streets. I have an urgent matter I must attend to. The Duke, sensing that Psyche was determined to go no matter what, thought to himself, the look on her face says I can't stop her no matter what. He sighed, trying to mask his concern. I can't let you leave by yourself when you're not feeling well. I'll escort you back. Psyche, ever independent, replied sharply. Just lending me your carriage would have been enough. The Duke's response was filled with a sense of responsibility. I'm not the type of person who sends his sick fiancée home by herself in a carriage, especially when it's my fault that she's sick. Psyche's face softened slightly, but she quickly clarified. That's not what I meant. Also, I passed out because I have a chronic condition. It's not your fault. The Duke's eyes narrowed, sensing that there was more to her words than she was letting on. Do you have a chronic illness? Psyche hesitated for a moment, her discomfort clear on her face. Yes, something like that. The Duke observed her, his thoughts clouded with concerns beyond her health. I can tell by her face that she's uncomfortable. There are some things that bother me, including her supernatural abilities, so I'd like to keep an eye on her for a while. If only it weren't for that contract. His thoughts became bitter as he replayed the words he'd spoken earlier. Why did I have to be so meticulous and prepare that in advance? Psyche, perhaps sensing the shift in his thoughts, asked. You said you want to break off the engagement because you want to take the ring off. Is there a reason why you want to take it off? The question hung in the air, and the Duke paused before responding, his curiosity piqued. Why do you want to know that? Psyche arched an eyebrow, her voice steady yet curious. I'm curious for personal reasons. Since you helped me at the auction house, I'm asking because I'd like to help you too. There was a brief silence, but Psyche's words seemed to soften the air between them. The Duke considered her response for a moment before nodding. It's all right, Psyche said with a calm smile. You helped me when I fainted, and that's enough. As the tension slowly ebbed, she added, I think we've arrived. House Silkisia's voice echoed with fury as she shouted. Are you crazy? Have you really lost your mind? The confrontation was escalating quickly. What? Did the fact that Lillian returned make you anxious? Are you so afraid of being abandoned that you're chasing a man? Her words were filled with frustration, as if all her pent-up emotions had finally erupted. I don't even know why Father said those things about you. Duke Berndia's internal thoughts were sharp with irritation. He should just throw you out on the street because you're useless. I've put up with listening to you, but you have crossed the line. His thoughts were harsh, but they reflected the boiling anger inside him. Lennox, standing nearby, was struggling against the tense atmosphere, his voice faltering as he addressed the Duke. Your Grace? Please, let go of me. He was trembling, aware that this was no private quarrel. We're not inside a quiet room. We're in a garden that everyone has access to. The staff can see us. He couldn't believe it was happening. He's raising his hand at his sister without hesitation. Psyche, seeing the growing tension and the risk of things getting out of control, intervened. Let him go, Your Grace. This is not something you should get involved in. It won't be good to cause any trouble before I find out what happened to Aiden. She wasn't just trying to protect Lennox. She knew that escalating the conflict would only make things worse. I'm going to tell my father about this. Izar scoffed at Psyche's words, dismissing her concern. Sick? Who? Her again? Did you pretend to be sick in front of him? Her voice was filled with disbelief. Do you know how many times she has done that? She often pretends to be sick to get attention and whines. Psyche's eyes narrowed in response to Izar's accusations, but before she could say anything, Izar continued with sharp venom. Did the doctor tell you she's just pretending? I don't need a doctor to tell me that. I can just tell. Duke Berndia, having had enough of the back and forth, added coldly. Don't be fooled. She does that whenever she wants some attention. I've seen it many times. The word stung, and Izar's cutting remark was met with another wave of silence. The tension was thick, and it was clear that Psyche had caught the worst of it. Izar, with her biting attitude, seemed to believe that the attention Psyche received was undeserved, while Duke Berndia seemed to be caught between his own frustrations and a desire to maintain control over the situation. Psyche, however, was undeterred by their harsh words. She met Izar's gaze, her calm composure never faltering. You're not the head of the house or the heir. I don't think attention from the second son of House Silkisia is what you should be worried about right now. Her words had a quiet power, challenging the dynamics at play, yet leaving the matter unresolved. The Duke's thoughts were elsewhere, troubled by his own inner conflict. What am I supposed to do now? Izar's sharp voice cut through the tension in the air as she addressed Duke Berndia. I was wondering who's causing such a ruckus. How nice to see you, Duke Lester. I didn't know you were such a hooligan, Your Grace. The sarcasm was biting, as she scrutinized his presence and the unfolding situation. Duke Berndia's response was equally sharp. A hooligan? Thank you for the compliment. That's much better than being called a crazy dog. His voice dripped with annoyance, but also a hint of amusement at Izar's jabs. Turning to Psyche, Izar dismissed Duke Berndia with a cold command. Psyche, you follow me. Father is waiting for you. Psyche hesitated, her mind racing with questions, especially about Aiden's whereabouts. Where's Aiden? She asked, voice frail from her earlier dizziness. Since I'm not feeling well, I didn't notice it at first. This never happened in the past. I don't know what's going on, but if I go into the mansion now, I have to consider the possibility of not being able to leave. Let's go inside and talk. I'd like to know where Aiden is first. Izar's tone was dismissive as she answered. Aiden was kicked out because I went to the auction house. The implications of her words hung heavily in the air. Psyche's mind churned with the possibility that the situation was far more complicated than she first realized. She pressed further. Ha! I think it's time for you to leave, Your Grace. Duke Berndia, clearly agitated but unwilling to back down, replied coldly. Oh, I thought about leaving, but I think it's just getting interesting. He wasn't ready to relinquish control of the situation. Izar, growing impatient with the interaction, cut through the growing tension. This is a private family matter. She is a member of House Silkisia before she is your fiancé. It's annoying when you beat around the bush. Why don't you just say that you don't want me to hear what you're going to say? Psyche's brow furrowed at Izar's words. Her mind reeled as she processed the deeper family dynamics at play. The mention of Aiden's fate, and the fact that House Silkisia seemed to wield its power so effortlessly, only deepened the mystery. She turned to Duke Bernil with a sharp, questioning gaze. By the way, who's Aiden? Is Izar telling me that a matter regarding a mere private soldier is a family affair? Did you cheat on me? The accusation hung in the air, but the Duke's response was one of indignation, yet laced with confusion. That's ridiculous. Then that guy must have done something really bad. Because why would the heir of House Silkisia use his family as an excuse to shut out the fiancé of the Duke's daughter over a trivial matter? The revelation that the issue surrounding Aiden wasn't trivial at all seemed to have hit a nerve, exposing cracks in the carefully constructed facades. The unspoken tension between Psyche, the Duke, and House Silkisia was now undeniable, and it was clear that this family matter was more than just a personal quarrel. It was tied to the intricate politics and secrets of their intertwined fates. Izar's thoughts swirled with frustration and disbelief as she assessed the situation. Though I didn't think he cared much about Psyche, I can't believe he's making a problem out of the fact that I am using family as an excuse. He's practically saying he'll make a big deal out of it later if he finds out it wasn't a big deal. Izar's emotions were on edge, knowing she had just kicked Aiden out of the house despite his abilities. She felt compelled to justify her actions, even though she was aware that her choices were not going to be well received. I kicked Aiden out of the house. No matter how talented he is, we have no use for a private soldier who can't follow his master's orders. She spoke aloud, almost as if to reassure herself. Are you satisfied now? Let's go in. Father's waiting. But Psyche stood her ground, shaking her head firmly. No, I won't go in. The words hung in the air, a definitive declaration. What? I've been meaning to tell you this, but Lillian is already carrying out all the duties of the Duke's daughter. The only thing that remains is my engagement to Duke Lester, but we all know that's just a formality, don't we? There's no reason for me to stay here anymore. But since you raised me, I'll fulfill my duty. I'll remain engaged to Duke Lester until the monsters disappear in the Lester Duchy. But I won't stay here any longer. Izar's eyes narrowed as she absorbed Psyche's words. Do you think you can do whatever you want? The question was sharp, challenging the very foundations of the relationship between them. Duke Berndia's voice cut through the tension with a calm but firm tone. She's not a child, so what's wrong with a fully grown adult saying she'll stay somewhere else? His defense of Psyche was an unexpected move, one that seemed to surprise both Izar and Psyche herself. Izar's frustration turned into anger. You shouldn't get involved in this, Your Grace. Since when do you care so much about her? Her words were biting, but Duke Berndia's response remained composed. You're right. I haven't been looking after her properly, so I'd like to from now on. His tone was more sincere now, and Izar couldn't help but feel a twinge of irritation at his newfound concern. Izar's mind raced, attempting to hold on to her control of the situation. By the way, does House Silkisia let their private soldiers stay in the house? Or perhaps you have something very precious hiding inside. I can't even count how many soldiers are here. Her voice carried an edge of suspicion, but there was an underlying uncertainty in her words. The question lingered, hinting at her unease over the family's mysterious affairs. She wasn't just accusing Duke Berndia of meddling, she was attempting to provoke him, hoping to uncover some hidden truth. Psyche's thoughts felt heavy as she acknowledged the complexities of her situation. "Thank you for helping me," she said quietly, but there was a weight to her gratitude, as if it held more than just politeness. "I didn't think I'd be able to grab my things." The situation was so chaotic that she hadn't expected to be able to leave with everything she needed, but somehow, it had all fallen into place. As she pondered her next steps, Duke Berndia's question caught her off guard. "Oh, that way. Is the man named Aiden someone important to you? It seems like you are quite concerned about him." His inquiry was pointed, though not unkind, but Psyche felt herself tense. "It's not that, it's just, he was my escort yesterday, and he did me a favor," she explained, unsure of how to respond to the undertones of his question. Duke Berndia seemed to misinterpret her response, continuing with, "I see. Since you suddenly packed up and left home, I thought he may be your lover." Psyche's eyes widened at the assumption. "What? No. I was planning to leave anyway. Thank you for the ride." Her tone was a bit shaky, and she quickly changed the subject. "Would you drop me off somewhere around here?" The Duke's question followed swiftly. "Where are you planning to stay?" Psyche's answer was uncertain. "I don't have a particular place in mind yet. For now, I'm thinking of staying at an inn in the capital." Duke Berndia's response was pragmatic, though his words hinted at a more protective tone than Psyche had expected. "House Silkisia's soldiers can easily find you if you stay at the inns in the city. It seemed to me like they were willing to use any means necessary to take you back." "How about staying at Leicester Manor?" Psyche hesitated. The offer was tempting, but she knew it wasn't entirely safe either. "No. I appreciate the thought, but they probably wouldn't be able to get to me in one of the higher-end inns in the capital. There won't be any vacancies there right now due to the second prince's upcoming birthday banquet." The Duke frowned, clearly concerned. "You have no strength at all. How are you going to handle House Silkisia's soldiers? Based on the way they are acting, if I wasn't with you earlier, they would have dragged you in right away." Psyche blinked, not sure whether the Duke was being sarcastic or genuinely worried. "Is he worried about me?" she wondered, feeling a flicker of something unfamiliar in her chest. After a moment of contemplation, Psyche gave in. "All right, then I'll stay with you just until I feel better." Her voice was soft but firm. Then, her mind seemed to sharpen as she spoke again. "Now that I think about it, don't you think it's safe for us to break off the engagement now? Now that I left, the promise between the houses is meaningless, and you've found a way to get rid of the monsters without the support of the Imperial Guard." Her gaze met his as she continued. "Whether that method will be effective or not remains to be seen. I need the insurance of House Silkisia until I can be sure that it works. For someone who wants House Silkisia's cooperation as insurance, I think he caused too much trouble with the Duke and Azar." Psyche paused before finally asking, "Do you think it will be possible to call it off?" Duke Logan Silkisia shouted, his voice full of fury. "You useless bastards! What is the meaning of this, Duke Lester? This is kidnapping." Duke Berndia remained calm, replying with a sharp edge. "Kidnapping? Lady Psyche, am I forcing you to leave with me?" "No, I'm leaving because I want to." His tone carried an undeniable sense of authority, as if he were daring anyone to challenge him. Psyche stood quietly, her resolve firm. She was aware of the escalating situation, but the decision had been made, and she wasn't going back on it now. The words she spoke were simple but strong. As the tension built, Duke Logan fumed internally, his thoughts racing. Where did things go wrong? I even said I would take her in as my own daughter in front of everyone. She should feel grateful and be kissing my feet right now. His anger flared, unable to comprehend Psyche's decision to leave his house. In the midst of the commotion, Azar was summoned. "You called for me, father?" he asked. Duke Logan handed him a note, speaking through gritted teeth. "Deliver this for me. I'm sure you already know what it is." "Yes, father," Azar replied, then left quickly. He couldn't help but wonder about the timing of this note. He wants me to deliver a secret note to the Imperial servant? Given the timing, I wonder if it is related to Psyche. Why does father care so much about her? Azar's thoughts echoed with uncertainty. Meanwhile, Icide, observing the events unfold, decided to speak up. Your Grace, I'm saying this out of concern, but are you really in a relationship with Lady Psyche? Duke Berndia gave him a sharp glance. What makes you say that? Your recent behavior. Not only has he been seeing Lady Psyche more often lately, but he also secretly went out at night to enjoy a walk with her. The Duke's mind began to race. He brought her to the manor, then got dressed up to take her back home, but now he's telling me she's going to stay here for a while. His frustration was palpable. It doesn't really matter if they are really together or not. Do I seem like a person who has time for things like that? Icide raised an eyebrow, still probing. Wait, then why are you spending so much time with her after you agreed to break off the engagement? Of course not. There's no way that could be true. He sighed, trying to maintain control of the situation. It's a bit complicated at the moment. It seems like she doesn't know anything. If she had, she wouldn't have considered House Silkisia as her family. He then seemed to lose himself in thought for a moment. But the reaction she had when she met Leah at the association. His words trailed off, as if he had just connected a piece of the puzzle, his expression becoming more troubled. The tension in the room was palpable, and Psyche felt it, but she remained resolute in her decision. The fate of the engagement was becoming a distant concern for her now, as she was focused on something far more pressing, the future and her own choices. Psyche muttered to herself in confusion, her voice shaky. No, I'm nothing at all. She was plagued by uncertainty, her thoughts racing. Looking at the situation, it's clear that Leah was talking about my supernatural abilities. But why did I react like that? If I don't know anything, why would I need to hide it and be so afraid? Meanwhile, Duke Berndia was deep in thought as he observed her. Moreover, Duke Silkisia is acting strange too. Why does he want to keep her locked up? He was interrupted by a servant. Your Grace, the doctor is here. The Duke nodded, considering Psyche's state. Come to think of it, it seemed like she was planning to leave as soon as she was better. But I have a feeling that her standard of feeling better is different from others. Psyche's mind wandered to a note she had found earlier. It's from Aiden. He managed to leave a note in my room before being kicked out. Thank goodness I was able to grab my things. The date is for tomorrow. The doctor introduced himself politely. This is House Lester's doctor. It's an honor to meet you, Lady Psyche. I heard that you have a chronic condition. Would you mind telling me your symptoms? Psyche hesitated, unsure of what to reveal. I thought he was just lending me a room, but he's worried about my health too. Duke Berndia, noting her hesitation, reassured her with a slight smirk. He's not going to charge a fee, so tell him. Or not. Maybe I'm just telling you to get better and get out. Psyche shook her head. No. It's alright, she sighed and began to explain. From time to time, I have headaches for no reason. Everyone said that it's nothing and that I'm just being too sensitive. The doctor frowned thoughtfully. She is similar to you, Your Grace. Is there something the both of you are consuming? Duke Berndia raised an eyebrow. Similar to me? The doctor nodded, his tone cautious. Yes, I feel something clumped up in various parts of the body. How should I put this? It's almost like a foreign substance of some kind. The Duke's expression darkened as realization dawned on him. No way. My symptoms are the side effects caused by Leah's ability suppressor. Silkisia's ability is not harmful to its owner, so there's no reason to suppress it. The doctor asked, his tone calm but probing. Lady Psyche, is there something you've been taking consistently for the past few years? Or even in the last few months? Psyche furrowed her brow, thinking carefully before responding. I don't think Izar sent me tea every morning. The doctor leaned forward. How long did you drink it for? Psyche blinked in surprise. I've been drinking that tea for 10 years now. Duke Berndia narrowed his eyes, his thoughts racing. So they were suppressing her ability on purpose. It didn't seem like Lennox or Lillian had any idea, and although Izar gave her the tea, I couldn't really tell if he knew. But Duke Silkisia? He always knew exactly what she was capable of. Still, that's a bit strange. Psyche broke the silence, her voice hesitant. I had my headaches from the beginning, and the tea was to help with them. The doctor spoke cautiously. Well, her symptoms are a result of her body trying to adjust to an unfamiliar sensation when her ability activates. The Duke's expression darkened further, as he pondered the implications. The question is how much of this she herself knows. The doctor hesitated before asking Psyche directly. Your Grace, how much do you know about House Silkisia's supernatural ability? Psyche looked confused. Isn't it called the unmelting ice? The doctor pressed further. Do you already know, or are you pretending not to know it? Psyche's eyes widened slightly. No way, Duke Berndia, watching closely, thought to himself. Does she really not know? She has seen what she can do with her own eyes. Given the good judgment I've observed lately, she would have thought about the potential of her having the ability. Is she just not sure about it? He cleared his throat, trying to find a starting point. I found out by chance when I was looking into the matter at the auction house, but I wasn't looking into your background, Doctor. Pardon me for coming so early. I heard that you were already up, my lady. He placed a vial on the table. If you take this once a day for about a month, almost all the foreign substances accumulated in your body will disappear. Psyche's eyes brightened with hope. So will the headaches go away as well? Of course, the doctor replied with a reassuring smile. Psyche held the vial carefully, deep in thought. I was wondering what he meant by foreign substances in my body, but I feel it now. I can feel something melting away in my body. It's been a while since I felt this at ease. Duke Berndia. How do you feel? Psyche smiled softly. I really feel better, thank you. I told His Grace that I'd only stay here until I felt better. I think I feel good enough to leave now. No, you can't, a voice blurted out suddenly. Psyche looked surprised. Why not? Icide stumbled over his words. What I'm saying is, per His Grace's request, I stayed up all night making a list of popular items young noble ladies like. But the person who's supposed to receive those gifts is telling me she wants to leave the mansion, and I have no authority or justification to ask her to stay. As Psyche tilted her head in confusion, Icide thought to himself, no matter how I look at it, I think His Grace has totally fallen in love with her, even though he denies it. Later, Duke Berndia approached with a commanding tone. I have an urgent matter I must attend to. Be Lady Psyche's aide in the meantime. Icide looked stunned. Pardon? Me? Not the butler or the head maiden? Berndia waved off his protests. Well, may I help you find an appropriate place to stay? Psyche gave a polite nod. I'd appreciate that. Icide sighed, recalling the Duke's final instruction. His Grace said that I must not let his fiancée stay at a shabby place. So for now, I must not let her leave by herself. As they walked through the town, Psyche noticed Icide's fatigue. Are you all right? Icide straightened up quickly. Huh? Oh yes. I'm fine. Psyche gestured to a nearby tea house. It seems like you are very tired. Let's take a quick break over here. Icide smiled gratefully. Thank God. The streets bustled with activity, inns overflowing with visitors. I had no idea there'd be so many inns with no vacancies, Psyche remarked. Icide explained. They say congratulatory envoys from other countries are here for the second prince's coming-of-age ceremony. Psyche looked thoughtful, her gaze lingering on the crowded streets. Psyche, let's check a couple more inns near the Imperial Palace. Her voice trailed off as a faint sound caught her attention. Huh! I heard that this tea house uses magic stones to soundproof each booth, but that voice sounded like... She glanced subtly toward a nearby booth, her sharp hearing picking up fragments of a conversation. Inside the booth, Lady Lillian sat with Hilvia, tears streaming down her face. Hilvia, Lady Lillian, stop crying and tell me what happened. Lillian sniffled, her voice trembling. Psyche left the mansion yesterday. Hilvia, pardon? I mean, why? Lillian wiped her eyes. The day before yesterday, late in the night, she went somewhere after sending her escort away. Then she just ran out of the house. Father is so shocked by all of this that he's sick in bed, and his Czar and Lennox dropped everything they were doing to look for Psyche right now. Psyche's thoughts. She didn't mention that Duke Lester was there. Hilvia's voice rose. Has she lost her mind? Why is the Duke letting that ill-behaved adopted child stay in the house? Lillian hesitated before whispering. I think it's because I'm not good enough. Hilvia. What? That's ridiculous. That fake is deceiving everyone. When the truth about her is revealed, everyone will know. I'll make sure that everyone knows the truth. Psyche's fists clenched under the table as Icide returned with a fresh cup of tea. Icide, don't worry. I'll tell His Grace about this. Psyche, no, it's all right. I've already left the house, And a dent in my reputation isn't going to be too problematic. She paused, her tone shifting. Now that I think about it, is there a man around our age with turquoise eyes in House Silkisia? Icide looked puzzled. As far as I know, there is no one like that among my relatives. Why do you ask? Psyche. No reason. Just curious. Her mind raced. If there's no one like that, then who? The thought lingered as she looked toward the booth again, feeling an unease settle in her chest. Here's the text rewritten into a cohesive paragraph, Hilvia said. Oh. I ran into a man who looked a lot like the Silkisias. He reacted strangely when he heard about the Rees incident, so I was just wondering. Oh my gosh, you don't know about that, Lady Lillian? So, the Rees incident is... She hesitated before continuing. So the necklace, and His Majesty saved the family as distant relatives. That's the story the public knows. That's what the public knows. Then is there a different story that was hidden? Lillian asked, curious. Hilvia replied, well, not exactly. The story itself is true, but I'm only telling you this since it's you, my lady. So please don't misunderstand me, alright? I mean, it's an incident House Silkisia's daughter deserves to know, Psyche interrupted. So what is it? Hilvia sighed and explained. The story is about House Silkisia. House Rees in the story is actually House Silkisia. Psyche, shocked, said. I had no idea. This is the first time I've heard of this story. How come no one told me this before? Hilvia answered cautiously. Well, that's because it's not a happy story. And the Imperial Palace doesn't like it. Silkisia is an important family, but strangely, such a serious crime was pardoned, so people think they're hiding something. Oh, this is just what other people are saying. This is not my opinion at all. I think His Majesty did a very good job. I see. Thank you for letting me know, Lillian asked. Do you know what happened to the emerald necklace? Is it kept at the Imperial Palace as evidence? Hilvia hesitated. Well, they say a thief came inside the Imperial Palace and stole it. Oh, what a pity. You said no one can tell by looking at it, so I wanted to see it in real life. Hilvia thought, why is she more interested in the necklace than the incident? Do you know who made the necklace? Hilvia, exasperated, replied. Oh, you're curious about strange things. Oh, wait, why is this not on? Yes, they might come here to see if anyone heard what they were saying, so we should get out of here. Lady Psyche thought for a moment. It's quite late, and I doubt there'll be any rooms in any of the inns. How about you come back to Leicester Mansion with me? Psyche hesitated but agreed. Yes, it's a bit embarrassing, but it seems I must burden the Duke for one more night. What do you mean? You should consider it your place and stay there comfortably. Just then, Psyche said, then I'll call the carry. But stopped abruptly. No, there's something I have to take care of, so you go ahead without me. She glanced around, noticing Aiden was missing. I don't see Aiden. Did something happen to him? I'll wait just a bit more, she said softly, before thinking, Lady Psyche, I tried my best. You know that, right? Psyche's thoughts raced. Is Duke Leicester mean to his subordinates? I didn't think he was the type to do that. I wonder when Aiden will get here. No, that's not Aiden. That's not the sound of human footsteps. It's coming. Damn, this self-defense dagger won't be enough. What's happening? What are beasts doing here? Should I run? What about Aiden? Is he alright? Or what if he's behind this and led me into a trap? Psyche observed the situation around her. There are more of them now, she muttered to herself. Unlike monsters created by nature, beasts were artificially created using forbidden magic. For there to be that many of them, it must have required a lot of life force. She thought, feeling the tension rise. She glanced around, realizing she was surrounded. I don't think there's anyone around, she murmured. She struggled to calm herself. I had a hard time dealing with one, so I can't fight this many with just this dagger. Will I be able to control it? What if someone comes here? Her resolve hardened as she whispered. But this is the only way right now. I want to live, Psyche shouted. I failed. I can't control it. Is this the end of me? As despair threatened to consume her, Duke Berndia appeared, calling out her name. There are still traces of the curse, he said, his voice firm but composed. You must keep this in mind, Psyche. If anyone discovers that you're cursed, you have to kill them, or you have to die. It's one of the rules. Is it alright now? Psyche's thoughts raced. What does he mean by is it alright now? Before she could answer, Sir Aidan appeared, concern evident in his voice. Are you alright? Were you hurt? Duke Berndia interrupted sharply. Don't come near her. Psyche froze, wondering if Aidan had seen anything. But the Duke continued calmly. Don't worry. As Psyche glanced down, she realized all the ice had already melted and the traces of the curse were gone. Huh? What happened? I think I saw fire. She noticed people flocking toward the scene. I'll take care of this and come back, Duke Berndia said. Don't go anywhere and stay right here. Aidan, guilt-stricken, spoke softly. I'm so sorry. Something happened while I was waiting for you, so I stepped away for a moment. Psyche murmured. I don't think he saw anything. No, it's all right. Aidan continued. I came back right away, but there was a strange barrier, so I couldn't get here in time. Psyche said nothing, but her heart felt heavy with the weight of the night's events. Aidan mentioned the strange barrier. I was there when Duke Lester was getting rid of it, he said. In passing, he mentioned it looked like forbidden magic, magic erased from history due to its disregard for life, cruelty, and severe side effects. But the beasts I saw earlier weren't demonized. They were full-blown beasts created that way. Psyche's mind raced. Although Aidan claimed to have overheard it, he seems to know more about forbidden magic than he lets on. How? Is it all right for me to trust him? Duke Berndia broke the silence, his tone sharp. Wait, is this the Aidan you mentioned before? Psyche nodded. Yes. Do you know Lord Aidan? She asked. I don't know why the son of House Silkisia is pretending to be a private soldier to approach Lady Psyche, Berndia remarked. But leave her alone and go back to chasing Azar's tail, okay? Aidan's response was quiet but firm. I'm not with my house anymore. Berndia wasn't convinced. Do you think I believe that? House Lester and House Silkisia are representative houses of the Crown Prince's faction and the Emperor's faction. I didn't know they were this hostile toward each other. He turned to Psyche, concern in his voice. You weren't feeling well to begin with, and now you're injured. It's all right. Psyche interjected softly. It's just a scratch. Berndia cut her off. The beast's poison has paralyzing properties. You'll start to feel the effects soon. As if on cue, Psyche began to notice a numbing sensation spreading through her body. A servant approached in haste. Your Grace. Someone reported seeing your flame in the destroyed area. The guards are requesting a written report. Berndia waved the servant off. You handle it. I'll cover the repair costs. Then what should I list as the reason for destroying the wall? The servant asked, clearly exasperated. Number 1, I was bored. Number 2, because it was fun. Number 3, just because I felt like doing it. Pick whichever one you like. Psyche observed Berndia with curiosity. He's going to hide the reason he used his ability? He won't even mention the beasts? That's good for me, but... She hesitated before speaking. Your Grace, I think I can walk now. Berndia turned back to her, his voice steady. The reason you've been okay so far isn't because the poison isn't strong, he explained. It's because your ability is suppressing its activation. Psyche's heart sank as she realized the gravity of her situation. Psyche's voice trembled. Are you going to kill me? Duke Berndia frowned, his tone steady but firm. What are you saying all of a sudden? I don't know what happened to you before, but I have no intention of hurting you. He extended a hand. Let's go back to Lester Mansion. Her uncertainty lingered. What are you going to do with me now? I don't plan on doing anything to you, he replied calmly. Then, after a pause, he added, Rather, I'm in need of your assistance. Psyche blinked, confused. My assistance? Berndia's expression grew somber. I don't have full control of my ability. God's gift, they say, is like a disaster to someone unprepared to receive it. Lester, who failed to master his power, was consumed by his flames. Had it not been for his partner, Silkisia, he would have become a single flame. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. The high priest warned me, Berndia continued. This flame isn't something a human body can handle. Psyche's voice barely rose above a whisper. But what does that have to do with me? To control my ability? Berndia admitted. I need your help, my lady. The power of the unmelting ice you possess, it can balance what I lack. Her breath caught. The unmelting ice, my ability. But that's not my real power, it's my curse. A chill ran through her as she recalled the grim warning that haunted her. If anyone finds out about my curse, I must either kill them or die myself. Berndia seemed to sense her turmoil and spoke with resolve. No, she looked up at him, startled. I won't let you die, he said, his voice unwavering. No matter what it takes. Psyche hesitated, her voice trembling. My ability, it's not the unmelting ice. You already know that I was adopted. Her thoughts spiraled. What's going to happen to me now? Berndia's gaze softened, but his words were resolute. Why do you think it's a curse? What do you mean, why? She replied, a bitter edge to her tone. A power like this, it's dangerous, uncontrollable. Isn't that the very definition of a curse? Berndia's lips tightened. That sounds just like my flame. No, she interrupted, her voice firm. It's different. It is a curse. I was cursed. Berndia sighed, his expression a mix of frustration and pity. I see now. They've completely brainwashed you. Her eyes widened. What? Lady Psyche, listen carefully, he said, leaning closer. The ability you have is the unmelting ice. Do you know about the poison needle necklace incident that happened 20 years ago? The story about House Silkisia? Yes, but what you may not know is that in the story, the House hurries they mentioned is actually House Silkisia. The current House Silkisia, they're not the direct descendants. What are you saying? Berndia's gaze locked onto hers, intense and unwavering. I believe you are. You're the daughter of House hurries, the surviving direct descendant of Silkisia. Psyche took a step back, shaking her head. I don't believe it. There's no way that's true. When you used your ability last time, my flame reacted. Berndia continued, his voice steady and convincing. That's the proof. The only force that Lester's unquenchable flame responds to is the power of the unmelting ice, a power only found in the bloodline of House Silkisia. Psyche's heart raced as his words sank in. But why would Duke Lester lie about something like this? Her thoughts swirled, her resolve crumbling under the weight of the revelation. If what he's saying is true, Berndia's voice cut through her turmoil, steady yet laced with an urgency that made her chest tighten. Lady Psyche, he said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. This changes everything, Psyche gasped, her mind reeling. What does this mean for me? Berndia's piercing gaze met hers. It means you're not cursed, Lady Psyche. You're the key. A voice broke through the haze, sharp yet gentle. Tell me. What's your name? Psyche blinked, disoriented. Where am I? Wasn't I talking to someone just a moment ago? She clenched her fists. My name, he asked for my name. But what is my name? Her thoughts churned as panic crept in. I have to answer. But what if he leaves when he finds out I'm cursed? What if I can't eat anything today? He doesn't like it when I cry. Raise your head, the voice commanded. Hesitant, Psyche lifted her gaze to meet the piercing eyes of Duke Logan Silkisia. He's the only one who comes to see me, even though I'm cursed, she thought bitterly. You have an ability that's cursed, Logan said, his voice steady but heavy with implication. Psyche's heart sank. Yes, he's right. My ability is cursed. If people find out, they'll try to kill me. What can I do? I'll do anything. I promise to do as he says, from now on. Logan continued, his voice softening slightly. Your name is Psyche, the name echoed in her mind. Psyche, keep this in mind, he added. House Silkisia is the only family who will accept someone like you. Her heart clenched. I know him. But why? Why would he do this? Later, Psyche awoke, her body heavy and her mind clouded. Am I in the Lester mansion? What happened? She wondered as the memory of Duke Lester carrying her in his arms flashed through her mind. This is the 10th time Duke Berndia Lester's voice broke into her thoughts, tinged with exhaustion. What do you mean? Psyche asked, her voice faint. Berndia sighed, his expression unreadable. I've told you before. The ability you have is not a curse. It's the supernatural power of House Silkisia. No, you must be mistaken, she stammered. It's not possible. Berndia studied her closely, his expression darkening as realization dawned. No. 20 years ago, during the Rees incident. He stopped himself, shaking his head. Let's leave it at that today, he continued, his voice low and contemplative. Whenever I speak about your abilities or your birth, you seem aware that I'm telling you something important, but you immediately deny it, as if you've been programmed to reject the truth. And after a while, you forget it entirely. Psyche's chest tightened as his words hit her. Programmed? They've put so much effort into destroying you. Berndia muttered, almost to himself. They must have done this deliberately. But for now, you've been through enough. Let's stop here. Don't think about anything. Just rest. As she lay in bed, Psyche's thoughts swirled. What did Duke Lester just tell me? She struggled to recall his words. I think he told me his weakness. He said something many times, but I can't remember. Sleep tugged at her, her body too heavy to move. This happens frequently. I'm sure I'll be fine. But I have to leave. He knows about my curse. I have to run away. I have to escape. And with that final thought, darkness claimed her once more. Man, I'll try to collect more offerings again. Woman, if you don't have them now, it's too late. Lester saw the beasts. Man. Lester? He asked again. Woman. Yes. Nothing's going right. I was trying to catch that bastard from House Hillis for interfering with my research, but he wasn't there. And then a member of House Silkisia got involved. Man. Silkisia? Woman. Yes. She made such a mess with the ice. I suppose it's because her power awakened late. Man. What? Are you talking about, woman? I think so. But ow, it hurts. Let go of me, man, shouting. You not only threatened her life with your useless beasts, but you made her use her ability in front of Lester, woman. It seemed like he already knew about her ability. He didn't react like he was surprised. It looked as though he was trying to hide it for her. Voice of authority. Your Majesty, they've sent a message. Man, I will take good care of her. What an idiot. It already happened, so why don't we put that issue aside for now and prioritize completing the eternal magic circle? Woman, you already know, right? As far as the ingredients go, the purer the blood and the higher the intelligence, the more effective it is. Meanwhile, Psyche drifts into thought. Psyche, thinking, did I doze off? So yesterday, oh right. Duke Lester found out about my curse. What should I do? Because of the ring, running away is useless. For now, I have to terminate our engagement before he changes his mind. Only then can I run away. Maid. Oh, my lady, you're awake. I'll prepare some water for you to get cleaned up and bring your breakfast. Everyone working in this household is so polite. It's a far cry from Melissa, Psyche. Yes, hold on for a moment. Another figure enters the room. Isolate. Please excuse me, my lady. I heard you were up. How are you feeling? Should I call the doctor for you? Psyche. No, I received some treatments yesterday. Thank you for asking, Isolate. I should have stayed with you yesterday. I'm sorry. I can't believe monsters appeared in the middle of the capital, Psyche. Oh, they weren't monsters, they were beasts. Naturally occurring entities are called monsters, but beings created using forbidden magic are referred to as beasts. Isolate, shocked. Oh no, I mix up their names all the time, Psyche. It's alright. It's probably because people at Leicester are more familiar with monsters. Isolate. Still, how could such scary beings appear all of a sudden? It's a good thing you weren't seriously hurt. Had His Grace not gone there to get you, things could have been much worse. So it wasn't just that he was passing by. Isolate, nodding. Yes, he scolded me for returning to the mansion without you. So please take me or an escort with you next time, Psyche. But it's troublesome to have an escort. I'd better just leave here as soon as possible. Isolate. I I'd like to get your advice on something. Maid, is there anything you've wanted recently? If you don't have an appetite, please try to eat a little. This is soup made with milk, and here are some tomatoes. Oh, and for dinner, if you tell me what you like, we'll make sure to prepare it for you, icide. So, I was wondering what women your age like. I'm trying to buy a gift for someone, so that's why I'm seeking your advice. Psyche drifts into thought. Psyche, thinking, what do I like? I wore clothes to appear as the Duke's daughter, did what my family wanted to gain their acknowledgement, and tried to like what the people of House Silkisia liked. But what do I like? Maid. Lady Psyche, if you don't feel like eating anything, at least drink this. It's the chef's specialty, a nice cup of hot chocolate. Psyche, taking a sip. It's delicious. I feel like a warm energy is spreading throughout my body. Maid. I'll tell the chef so he can prepare it for you next time as well. Psyche. Yes, thank you. It's my first time recognizing something I actually like. Since I feel a bit better now, I should suggest going to the Magicians Association tomorrow. I need to find out how the monster problem is being dealt with. Later, Psyche encounters another girl. Girl. Oh, you're here? Are you just hanging out? Psyche. For personal reasons. I'm staying at this mansion for the time being. Girl, noticing. Wait, more importantly, why do you have so many injuries? You have one here too, Psyche. Oh, these? I'm alright. I already had a doctor look at them. Girl. What do you mean you're? Duke Berndia enters the scene. Duke Berndia. Lady Psyche, are you feeling better? Psyche, interrupting. We'll be right back, so you wait here, Lester. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, as it really helps our channel grow. Thanks.